after listening to Eminem's second greatest hits album, Curtain Call 2, and then spending the last few months every Friday on this channel ranking each individual album's tracks from my least favorite to my favorite, it made me realize that my ranking of all Eminem's major studio release albums has changed. So I'm going to be re-ranking all Eminem's albums today. Of course, at any point in time, this ranking could change. And when Eminem finally decides to release another album, which I hope is really soon, I'll be back here again to re-rank all of his albums. But before I do that, a few things that you should know. I know for sure that my ranking has definitely changed since the last time I did this. I did not, however, go back and watch the last ranking video. I didn't want that video to affect my decision in this video. And obviously I remember some of the ranking. Like I have one album really high and now it's sort of low. Hey, it's a different day. My opinion can change. Now, my factors on how I came up with this ranking, the two big factors are the number of tracks that I like on the album, and then how often I go back to re-listen to the album, which at any given time, that could obviously change. There's a few albums, well, there's one album that I'm not going to include in this video because it's not a major studio release, and that would be Infinite. And a lot of people don't even like that album. I know there's some that really love it, but usually it's toward the bottom in most ranking videos that I either listen to or watch. And then Music to Be Murdered By. I'm counting that as two separate albums because Side A came out in January of 2020 and Side B came out in December of 2020. So I'll have 11 albums here, and if you want to leave your ranking in the comment section, please do that because this is my personal opinion and we are definitely going to disagree. So if you have your ranking, leave it in the comment section. If you've done a ranking video, certainly put the link in the comment section. I'll check it out because I always love hearing Eminem albums ranked videos because they're just a lot of fun, and I like to hear a different perspective on Eminem's albums. So there's going to be 11 albums here. It's time to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite. What I'll do in the end screen, I'll put the playlist link to all things that I've done on this channel Eminem related, so you can check out my previous Eminem albums ranked videos, or if you want to check out my Eminem album tracks ranked videos, those will all be there. And I stress again, this is going to be my personal opinion. We're probably going to disagree, so make sure you leave your ranking list or ranking video down in the comments section. I'll let you know what I think for sure. I always respond to all comments, unless for some reason I don't get a notification about it. And honestly, I really like all of Eminem's albums. Obviously, some more than others. I think some of his worst albums are better than some artists' best efforts. So just keep that in mind. But finally, let's start the ranking video. The album that comes in 11th place, and this is no change, it's going to be Relapse. Now, when that album first came out, I listened to it probably a month straight. But then I realized I only listened to a few tracks. I always listen to Underground because that's one of my favorite Eminem tracks. Beautiful. Another awesome, solid track. And then after that, it was Crack a Bottle. And then I don't really listen to it. I don't really go back to listen to the whole album because of all the fucking accents. Those drove me nuts. And I don't know, some people, they absolutely love it. I don't. It seems like that's either a love or hate album, but there's nothing in between. And unfortunately, I fall in the hate category. But compared to some artists, that's 100% better than somebody's best effort. So unfortunately, again, Relapse comes in 11th place. Now, if I were to rank Relapse Refill, that might come in possibly higher because it has Forever on there, and I do really like that song. But I'm just ranking the original version, which is just Relapse, and that's why it's in 11th place. My number 10, a lot of people would put at number 11, and that's going to be Revival. Now, I love Like Home, I like Bad Husband, I like Nowhere Fast, I like A Rose, and River. I know there's a lot of criticisms with this album, but I have a fun time, to a certain degree, listening to that album. Obviously, there's a lot more albums that I like more, but I think it's underrated. Now, some of it is kind of garbage, but I think it's way better than Relapse. So that's why Revival is my number 10. Now, Here is where people are going to be pissed, and this has gone down quite a bit. It's my personal opinion. My number 9 is going to be the Slim Shady LP. I know. It's not the first Eminem album that I listened to, and it has a really different sound to it. There are some great tracks on there. I love Guilty Conscience. I love Role Model. If I Had, I love those tracks. Just Don't Give a Fuck. It just has a weird sound, and I like all the other albums' sounds better. Now, previously, I know that I ranked this higher. I don't remember what place it was, but I just have to leave it lower on the list because I don't go back and listen to it unless I have to. And that's where the problem lies. If I have to listen, if it takes me to do a video to listen to the album, then I probably shouldn't have it higher in my ranking. So that's why, unfortunately, the Slim Shady LP comes in at number 9. So now we kind of get to a group of albums that could be interchangeable depending on the day that I listen to them. My number 8, as it stands right now, is going to be Music to Be Murdered By, Side B. Yes, just Side B. I think this is a great album. It seems like some of these songs were recorded a long time ago, and Eminem's like, oh, I need to put another album out. What should I put? Seems like some of these songs could have been on the Eminem show. I don't know if that's the case or not. Maybe this is all new recordings. It just has a different... Some of the songs have a different sound to them. But I like it. And I had a hard time when I listened to this album of what placement I should put it at. Because it's hard to place. I don't know where to place it because I like it a lot. But I like other albums better. So I settled on number 8. I was thinking of putting it at number 9, but I realized that I would definitely want to listen to it more than the Slim Shady LP. Now, I like Guns Blazin', I like Book of Rhymes, I like Killer, I like Higher, all awesome tracks. It's a great album, just towards the bottom, but it's one of those albums that could go up 3 spots depending on the time I listen to it. So, Music to Be Murdered By, Side B, is going to be my number 8. Coming in at number 7 for me, I think is one of Eminem's most underrated albums. Not the most underrated album, but that would be Encore. Now, without confirming, I do believe that this came in number 4 last time. And I really like the album. I just think listening to other albums, I like them more this time versus the last time I did an Eminem albums ranked video. But this has some awesome, and I repeat, awesome tracks on it. You've got Encore, you've got Just Lose It, you've got Like Toy Soldiers, you've got Yellow Brick Road, you've got Mockingbird, you've got Mosh, although I don't necessarily like Mosh as much as some people do, but hey, I'll give it credit. It's catchy to a degree, but it's got some phenomenal tracks on it. I think the problem with it is, with the Eminem show being so phenomenal and this not coming to that, it didn't get to that point, and this is an album that had some accents on it, not as many as Relapse, and I think that puts it down, but at any given point in time, it could go up on my list. I think it's a phenomenal album. In due time, I think it'll be a lot higher on people's lists. But as it stands right now, Encore is going to be my number 7. My number 6, I think, was number 9 last time, I think, and that would be Recovery. Now, the reason why it's lower, I think it's missing one solid track. If it had one more awesome track, it might be number 4, possibly number 3. Although my top 3 are pretty phenomenal albums, but I think it could get to number 3. I love No Love. That's a fucking phenomenal track. Not Afraid is awesome. Love the Way You Lie, which I used to not like, but it's growing on me. Now, why did I have this ranked, I believe, at number 9 last time? I don't know. I think because I only liked a few tracks on the album, like tracks that I knew off the top of my head. This has a lot of amazing tracks, despite me despite me not remembering the name of a track, and I gotta give it its due this time. What else we got? Talking to Myself. That's a song I really like. Track, song. After that, Almost Famous, Cinderella Man, awesome stuff. Recovery, great album. I think it's missing one more solid track, but No Love is fucking amazing in my opinion. So that's why Recovery is going to be my number 6. Now, my number 5, I do believe is Eminem's most underrated album, and me specifically, I have not rated this high before, and I realize it's a phenomenal album. That would be Kamikaze. Now, I know some people say, well, it doesn't have a lot of tracks, so I'm ranking it low. And you know what? I kind of agreed with that at one point. But man, the tracks that are on this album are fire. They just hit hard. I mean, Stepping Stone is a song or track that I really like. You've got Not Alike was good. You've got Lucky You song. You've got Greatest. You've got The Ringer. Venom, it's not my favorite, but I know a lot of people that really like that particular track. Fall is really good, which I don't remember even listening to before on this album. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I listened to this album before, but it's a solid album, and all the tracks, for the most part, are bangers to a degree, in my opinion. So that's why I put Kamikaze at my number 5. My 4th place, which I'm kind of surprised because I thought this was going to be 6th or 7th, but re-listening to things changed my opinion. That would be the Marshall Mathers LP 2. This album is an album that you can press play and not have to worry about skipping a track in most instances. Now, me, there's a few tracks that I don't particularly care for, but a lot of people tend to like all those tracks that I don't like. But speaking of tracks, you've got, I'm going to look at the back here just to make sure I don't forget any that I really like. You've got Bad Guy. You've got So Much Better. You've got Survival. You've got Legacy. You've got Asshole. You've got Rap God. You've got The Monster. You've got Headlights. All amazing tracks. Why it's not higher? Other albums I'd rather re-listen to. But hey, maybe next time my opinion can change because, well, we'll get to that in a second here. But that's why the Marshall Mathers LP2 is my number 4. We've reached the top 3, and my number 3 is going to be Music to Be Murdered By, Side A. Now, for those of you that have watched my previous ranking videos, at least the last couple, this has been my favorite album, and now I've changed my opinion. Do I like this album any less? No. But the other albums that I listen to, in my opinion, are just more memorable. And maybe I had some recency bias when I was doing my last ranking. But this has some phenomenal, and I do stress phenomenal tracks. You've got Godzilla. You've got Those Kind of Nights. You've got No Regrets. 3 tracks that I absolutely love. And right from the first listen of this album, I love those tracks. And then, of course, you've got Darkness. You've got Stepdad. You've got Marsh. You've got Premonition. You've got Unaccommodating. Those are all solid as well. And there's other tracks on this album that are solid. I just think I had some recency bias, and the other 2 albums that are left, I think ultimately are better albums. And I think for the most part, all of you are going to agree, because I don't think a lot of people had Music to Be Murdered By Side A as their favorite Eminem album. So that's why that's my, at the moment, number 3. Coming in at number 2 for me, my silver medal when it comes to my Eminem albums ranked is going to be the Marshall Mathers LP. Now, this was the first Eminem album that I ever listened to, and it holds a special place in my heart. And last time, this was actually number 3. But re-listening to things, I realized, what was I thinking? This has so many phenomenal tracks on the album. And how I do when I ranked my Eminem album tracks ranked, I had 5 categories. I had excellent, good, okay, so-so, and bad/terrible. And honestly, this album, I didn't have any songs under so-so or bad/terrible. Everything was okay to excellent. I mean, you have The Way I Am, you have Stan, you have Kim, you have The Real Slim Shady, all phenomenal tracks. Some people wouldn't say Kim is necessarily phenomenal, but I absolutely love the track. And then you have Marshall Mathers, you have I'm Back, you have Kill You, you have Criminal, you have Under the Influence. I mean, so many awesome tracks. Talk about an album that you can just press play on and do what you need to do, and you can just keep playing it. Honestly, the tracks I don't like on here, let's see, Amityville, that's okay. I don't remember where I placed that at. Maybe that might have been one of them I didn't like as much. And Drug Ballad. I mean, they're pretty solid despite them being my least favorite tracks on the album. And again, this was the first Eminem album that I listened to, and surprisingly enough, I actually have my receipt in the case. It's going to be hard to see. I got it at Shopko of all places. When do you remember the last time you went to Shopko was? But yeah, Marshall Mathers LP is definitely a classic. It's a phenomenal album. Really, obviously I listened to this first, but listening to the Slim Shady LP and then listening to Marshall Mathers LP, for me, it was quite a difference. So that's why the Marshall Mathers LP is my number 2. And now it's time for my favorite Eminem album of all time, my gold medal, and I'm sure by process of elimination, you already know what album I'm going to say next. In my first place is going to be Back to Being the Eminem Show. Music to Be Murdered By, Side B, that recency bias is over. This album is phenomenal. It's another album where you can press play and just do what you need to do because these tracks are amazing. Let's talk about the tracks. You've got White America, Business, Clean Out My Closet, Soldier, Say Goodbye to Hollywood, Drips, Without Me, all phenomenal. Sing for the Moment, which actually is not one of my favorite tracks. And I know a lot of people, that's one of their favorites, but not me. Superman, When the Music Stops, Say What You Say, and, of course, Till I Collapse, and My Dad's Gone Crazy. Now, Till I Collapse and Soldier are 2 tracks that I didn't necessarily listen to all the time. So even adding to this album's awesomeness. So there's not much to say about it. I absolutely love this album. Clean Out My Closet is my number 1 on this album, and that leads me to think, I need to get more views on these Eminem videos. And I know some of my content is a little generic. I don't do a lot with editing because it's just too time consuming, and this is not a full-time job for me, although I wouldn't mind it being someday. But I want to do my top 25 favorite Eminem tracks of all time. That could be a track on an Eminem album, it could be a track on a D12 album, or it could be just any random album by any other artist. So I'm going to get working on that. I don't know when I'm going to post it, but I will keep all of you updated. I'm guessing I'll do it within a month. Maybe I'll stick to doing an Eminem thing every Friday, but I definitely want to do that video. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to do as much Eminem related content until Eminem comes out with another album. But maybe I'll just take albums that Eminem has a lot to do with, like D12, and rank all the tracks on those albums, because I love, especially that first D12 album, Devil's Night. That's a fucking phenomenal album, and actually, it's in my top 5 of all time. That's how much I love that album, especially the song Pimp Like Me, which Eminem only sings the hook. And I just love how that just, when you play it and have a good system in your car, I love how it sounds. So, again, the Eminem Show is my number 1. So let's just go over the list one more time in case you need me to clarify something or you weren't paying attention. Number 11, Relapse. Number 10, Revival. Number 9, the Slim Shady LP. Number 8, Music to Be Murdered By, Side B. Number 7, Encore. Number 6, Recovery. Number 5, Kamikaze. Number 4, the Marshall Mathers LP 2. Number 3, Music to Be Murdered By, Side A. Number 2, the Marshall Mathers LP. And number 1, back to being number 1, the Eminem Show. So if you're a fan of Eminem and you like Eminem related content and also want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure to smash that like button, share the video with anybody that you want to share it with, or put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Please don't forget to sound off in the comments section about what your thoughts are on this video. You don't like my ranking? Let me know that you hate my ranking. The Slim Shady LP should be number 1. That's an opinion, and some people, I get it. That's the album they heard Eminem on, and they stand by it. I can't. It's a completely different album compared to the Marshall Mathers LP, and that's why I have that so low. But make sure you leave that your ranking or ranking video in the comment section. If there's an Eminem related video that you want me to do, make sure you leave that suggestion down in the comment section. I'll give you a response. I can't guarantee that I'll do the video, but you know me, I like to continue the Eminem content weekly if I can, so it's probably something I'll do, especially if you make the suggestion. And then last but certainly not least, you're spending the time to watch the video. So don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.